Hey everybody, Conodger here. Welcome back to the Mindcrack server for... Is this the 99th time? Is this the 99th episode of Mindcrack? I think it is. I did not even consider that before I started the recording, but yeah. I got 99 episodes of Mindcrack, and this is one of them. Today we're going to be working on Cone's Garage over here. I've been doing a little bit of tinkering around off camera, playing around with some ideas, including the overhang. I decided to do a one layer of brick for the overhang. I considered pushing the stone brick over one and having just an extra layer of brick in the middle. Didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. So I'm going to do a brick overhang front and back. Also, thank you for your feedback and your suggestions on the door. I have decided that I do like the longer doors, and it does physically make sense that way. They would have enough room to close. I tried this iron bar in the middle because it seems more logical. Like it seems like a latch. I worry though that it might be I don't know, maybe looking like something a little different. Maybe given the wrong vibes there. Not too sure. Not too sure about that. Yeah. But I am happy with the way that it looks. And then today I'm going to work on some other structural things before we get to decorating. I do want to try some different designs here at the roof. I'm going to break up the roof a little bit. It's a little too simple. It's not really simple. It's a busy design, but it's just very flat, and you could use a little sprucing up. And I've had some ideas there. I will, however, be working and talking today because I have a talking point. Yesterday, I got to discussing a certain thing, a certain activity that is very prevalent, or maybe not prevalent, but very important to Mindcrack, and that is UHC. Some of you have joined me here on Mindcrack purely out of, connection through my content. You might not know much about Mindcrack. I would say that's probably the minority. I would say that's probably not too many people. Most people know of Mindcrack, and then through that knew of me and then the series. However, but for anybody that doesn't really know much about Mindcrack, it was started as a group of YouTubers that produced Minecraft Let's Play content, and one of the things that was part of that, I need to move my temporary staircase. One of the things that was part of that was a little thing known as UHC, and UHC is a game mode designed within Minecraft, and it is essentially a player versus player, I don't want to say fighting. Well, yeah, it basically is a fighting mode. It is a war mode of Minecraft, and it is a competition where you all get pitted against each other, and you try to be the last person standing. It's nothing, honestly. This is a bit rude probably to say. Honestly, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing unheard of, and it's nothing revolutionary. It is, and it was, however, revolutionary as content, as hashtag content. It was something that had previously not been done before, and something that people on YouTube just hadn't seen before. So it was extremely exciting. Minecraft, in general, was extremely popular during that time period. There was nothing bigger on YouTube in that era than Minecraft. So it was just a perfect storm situation where this game mode and in kind of connection, Mindcrack absolutely exploded with popularity around that time period and around Mindcrack itself and around UHC itself. The two became very much so connected. Today I kind of want to talk about the... how do I word this? I don't want to say the downfall, because that's very dramatic and frankly over-dramatic. Not the downfall, but just the history of UHC and the way UHC kind of evolved and developed from my perspective, which I think is interesting because my perspective is very much so, for the most part, that of a fan. I was not part of this community until after the heydays of Mindcrack and UHC. I did not become part of this community really as a creator until after all of that had kind of, well, gotten to where we are now, which is frankly just not quite the same as it used to be. There's not the same level of energy and synergy, old Minecraft references, and just, yeah, it's not as popular as it once was. The big thing to me, though, is UHC as a creation was a really interesting thing, but as with most things like it, it never ends up being owned by the people that create it. And this is something that it has happened to me. It happens to, I think, anybody. It certainly happens to artists. It happens to inventors, where your invention basically is no longer yours at some certain point. And yeah, it's something that, it's just frankly part of life, where something that you create often is no longer yours. I think it happens on TV shows, or movies, or just like comic series, anything that's creative writing like that. A lot of times it ends up being that the fan base actually owns the product now. The creator, the writer, was responsible for making it, but at the end of the day, the community starts to own it and shape it themselves, which is neat. You know, that's actually a neat thing to see happen. And as a creator of things, it's actually quite enjoyable to watch. It can be, though, very difficult to watch because it was your thing, and you know, you put in the effort to make this thing, and now you've kind of spun off and lost control of it. And I think there's some of that that's gone on with UHC too. So let's sleep off the night and talk about that. So I think it's important to start out with some of what makes UHC, or what made especially early era UHC so special. And the specialness was certainly the newness. It was something that nobody had ever seen before. It was using Minecraft in a way that had never been used before. And I think most importantly, and probably most overlooked, is the way that it changed the content itself. It changed what you could do with Minecraft content. At the end of the day, in my opinion, UHC was a show. It was a show, not a competition. The competition part of it was secondary. And I don't know that that opinion is very popular. I don't know that that opinion is shared. I think that may be something that is, I would say, more uniquely my own. That is more uniquely my own take than everybody's take. But from day one, to me, sure, the competition part of it is neat and important, But the most important side of it was actually the entertainment value. It was seeing, you know, what were at the time our new and favorite content creators, seeing what they did with it, and everybody did something different with it. Some people took it very seriously on the competitive side. Some people didn't take it as seriously on the competitive side. Some people took it, you know, more lighthearted and fun. But honestly, that was the cool part. You know, that was what I enjoyed seeing everybody's different perspectives of it. And then, you know, in the background, there was also this whole competition thing going on where we were seeing, you know, people be quote unquote crowned as champion and stuff like that for something that was quite new and different for us. It was something not seen before. So yeah, I think I like this one more. So that's kind of its own thing. I have lots of amazing memories of this. Is like before I was making content, or certainly before I was making content on any you know serious scale or scope. I would just sit down either with friends or, you know, before I had, you know, made any friends that were into that kind of stuff, you know, by myself. I would sit down and just be so excited to watch today's, you know, UHC release. It was the absolute highlight of my week. I was so excited whenever that happened. Jump! Oh, nice. Nicely done. Here's where it starts to change, though. After, you know, a dozen times of doing it, it's no longer new. It's no longer fresh. It's not the new crazy thing that it once was. And you start to develop the rhythms and the patterns of it. It starts to become more procedural rather than fresh. You know, it starts to become something you kind of expect certain things out of. And in that, the creator loses the ability to be creative with it. Once there's really set plans and a set, let's say, style to it, then the creator basically has lost the ability to innovate in that, because the audience suddenly expects certain things out of it. They expect there to be certain elements to the UHC. They expect a certain level of seriousness, and that's where I think UHC started to develop into something that I don't even know that Mindcrack was ready for. And that is that the community didn't just take UHC as a Mindcrack thing. They didn't take it as a form of entertainment. They wanted to take UHC and compete with it. They wanted to use it as a method of competition. They wanted to do it themselves, and that's very cool. You know, it's very cool to see that it spurred into its own thing there. Play Mindcrack spun off to that and started their own UHC stuff, and a whole community developed around UHC as a competition, as a thing. And that, to me, was a fork in the road. It was something fundamentally different from what Mindcrack UHC was. And that, I think, is a major turning point in what UHC is and what defined it in the future and why it's not now what it was then. I'm going to do some thinking on what to do with this dormer real quick, and we'll continue this conversation after this cut. Alright, I'm not super sold on the white concrete yet, but overall I like the shape. I like the squat kind of, I don't know, they almost look like more of a bay window than a dormer. I like that it looks different than the ones on the Kona boat. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with this shape. We might just need to work on the materials yet. I do need to replicate it yet, so maybe it'll look completely different when I do the second one. But alright, so like I was talking about, the UHC community started to create its own thing. There's a couple factors there that end up with basically, in my opinion, the downfall of Mindcrack UHC. The reason why Mindcrack UHC stopped being a prominent thing and started to kind of just be a a secondary thing, something that sure, it's part of Mindcrack. It's super important to say the charity UHCs. It's certainly very much so a staple of those, and it's still to this day, if you say Mindcrack to somebody, one of the things that they are going to think about first is UHC. But it's just not something that is as prevalent as it once was. I'm running around in circles in this conversation, and it's annoying, and I'm annoying myself. So where does it start to falter? Where did things start to downturn there? The downturn is that once it started to become its own thing, the audience is divided. The audience is no longer set on Mindcrack knows what's best for UHC. For your everyday viewer, it was still fine. But for the UHC community, it was no longer fine. When you combine that with the fact that you just can't do the same thing over and over and have the same level of inspiration for it, it just doesn't work that way. I know that, you know that, but it's really hard for people to accept that. I accept that. I accept that that is a thing. I'm gonna go grab some more smooth stone. I've been smelting cobble over here, but it just seems so wasteful. So yeah, like I said, I can accept that. Which way am I going? This way. I can accept that what I do here is my own thing, and that whenever I want to change things, I'm just going to be able to change things, because honestly, there's not a community following along here that has their own perspective on it. That does bite me in the butt on occasion. There are things that the community wants to do things in their own way, and when I do them a different way, there's backfire from that. There's feedback there, and people leave. People stop watching me because I keep doing things the way that I want to do them rather than the way that they want them to be done. That could be the series that I do. That could be the way that I do series. It could be the way that, like, I handle my F1 playthrough, or the way that I handle my sim racing content, or the way I play automation. Yeah, there's a lot of things there. Well, the same thing happens with UHC in that way, where let me grab a couple. They've got plenty. Thanks, guys. But yeah, where like I said, the UHC community didn't agree with what Mindcrack UHC had become so much, and you could just see it. I don't know that the guys or gals of Mindcrack ever cared about that, but it just creates this level of discontent. It creates a level of not controversy, but it just kind of separates the audience out, and overall makes tension there. And the last thing that something like that needs is tension. When you go from creating something that is basically universally loved and people are excited about, like UHC initially was, and then it turns into something that anytime you release content on is controversial, then automatically your level of inspiration for wanting to do that content drops, I think, at least from my perspective. As soon as there's negative feedback from it, instantly my level of desire to do something drops. And I just have to imagine the same thing kind of happened for UHC. It's so hard to be on for that long, like to keep doing those. They did a lot of UHCs. You know, it's so hard to stay on and motivated and excited about that. And then when you add in the negative feedback of an audience that wants things that are different from what you kind of set out to do, it's just it's a drag, you know. It really saps the energy right out of you. It makes you not want to do that thing anymore. That is 100% exactly what happened with me and the Conelander stuff. What I set out to do was my own vision. It was my own inspiration of what you could do with sim racing content in a group content creation format. Sim racing, though, already had its own community around it and already had its own perspective of what, you know, sim racing leagues should be. And the community and audience took that aspect of it stronger than the aspects of what I had intended it to be. And in that, you know, it became something that I hadn't initially set out for it to become. Oh, I have tons of slabs. Oh, because I've been breaking them up here. Perfect. Yeah, so that was a key contributor for me losing inspiration to do that kind of stuff, because it felt like the effort that I put into it, and there was certainly no small amount of effort there. That was a big time thing, you know. That was something that was a huge undertaking for me. When you take on that big undertaking and then you just feel like it's constantly being wrestled away from you, it's a lot to deal with, and it's honestly, for me, was just too much to handle. And I just wonder if some of that same effect didn't happen with UHC. If some of that same, you know, feeling didn't come towards or come at the Mindcrack creators, in that what they were comfortable with and what they wanted to do was no longer something that was just universally desirable. That is the nature of the beast, though. That happens. It's not anybody's fault. I don't fault the community for it. I don't fault there being a UHC community separate from Mindcrack UHC. I think that was an important evolution, and it's just something that, frankly, happened and needed to happen. Or maybe didn't need to happen, but, you know, it was something, it filled a void. People wanted competitive Minecraft. People wanted competitive PvP Minecraft. They were introduced to a format of it, and they wanted to make it their own thing. And that's cool. You know, that's really cool that got to happen. But when people want to know and people wonder, well, why, when UHC took off so much, why did Mindcrack UHC not follow suit? From my perspective, that was a huge factor in it. It got wrestled away from Mindcrack themselves. And in that, you combine those feelings with having to, you know, stay inspired for it, having to, you know, do the same thing again and again and still feel, you know, excited about it. Those things are overcomable. You know, that's something that good people in the industry, you know, if you're good at doing this, you can overcome that. But when you combine it with the other factors that I was discussing there, it just becomes too much. It's just too much to deal with, I think. And that, combined with the downfall of Minecraft, the downfall of YouTube, the downfall of Let's Play content, you combine all those into one pot, and melt them together, and what you get is what we have now. Mindcrack UHC was a very important thing. It's something that a lot of us that are, you know, tied to this community have extremely fond memories of, but it will never be what it once was, and it's just going to have to be a memory of something that was and spurred on, you know, the creation of so much more. There's a lot more of that story to be told, and my side of the story is that of somebody from the outside looking in, but with the perspective of somebody that deals with that kind of stuff now. For doing this kind of stuff, for trying to do the Conelanders things, for making content, for being part of the Mindcrack server and community now, I understand so much more now than I ever did before on why things happened the way that they happened. And I'm not angry about it. I'm not bitter about it. Sometimes I'm a little sad about it. But overall, I'm just very thankful that we got to experience, you know, the creation of something, and we got to see it happen firsthand, first person. That's something that I hope people don't take for granted, because it's not something that happens very often. Okay, I'm super confused on what to do with this block in the middle. Oh, no. I like that this ties to this. There's just not enough of it. If it was too tall, I could see it, but one tall, I don't know. I don't like the brick at all. I'm gonna go ahead and just remove that. I don't like that one bit. But let me try extending the, which I think I already did once and didn't like it. Extending these down on this side, and then on this side, let me try extending the slabs up. Let's see what those two look like. I hope I made some sense in this UHC discussion. There's so much more to talk about there. Like I said, there's so many factors other than what I'm talking about today, but it was just it was an additional thing. You know, this is something that I think people didn't really consider. Yeah, I think it's going to be the stone brick. As simple as it is, I think it's going to be the stone brick. Yeah, there's a lot of blame game that goes on there. There's a lot of different factors, but I don't know that people really considered the ramifications of UHC becoming its own thing, and the discontent that caused within, you know, the community. I don't know that people really ever considered just how much of an impact that would have. I certainly don't think that any of the people that, you know, were founders of UHC, whether I'm talking about Good or whether I'm talking about, you know, Mindcrack in general, or the people that, you know, first started to, you know, put UHC as a competitive, you know, form of gameplay. I don't know that anybody fully knew or understand. I don't know how you would even know the scope of what that would cause. Oh yeah, that's the way to go for sure. Yep, I am quite pleased with those now. It looks good from the outside. It's broken up the roof. This I love. I think this is probably one of the coolest things I've ever designed. I'm gonna toot my own damn horn right now, because this looks really cool. It's a higher roof for the bays, and man, does it look cool from up here. Does it not? Would this not be the coolest office space? I am very happy with this. I'll have to think about what I'm gonna do with the ends here, but yeah, I'm gonna call that a wrap for today. Next episode is episode 100. I have something in mind for episode 100. I gotta see if I can put it together, though. But if I can... oh, hold on to your butts. Alright, everybody, thank you as always for watching. Thank you for sitting through my rambles, and I look forward to your comments and discussion about what happened to UHC. Where did it all go wrong? Not wrong, but I hope that we can share a perspective on why things changed and why things had to change. You know, where was the shift? And I hope we can all just appreciate what was instead of being angry for what isn't. Ooh, strong point, Cone. Cut this episode right there. Goodbye.